Black Future Co-op Fund family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited to celebrate Black Philanthropy Month with you and hold this virtual conversation. And as the video showed, today's conversation is about Black philanthropy, about describing love in action. My name is Angela Jones, and I'm proud to serve as one of the founders and co-architects of the Black Future Co-op Fund. I also serve in my day job as the director of the Washington State Initiative at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I come to you today with all kinds of Wakanda and riverboat energy with my Juneteenth t-shirt on, even though I know that it is August. I come to you today from Briar, Washington, here in Snohomish County. A few housekeeping announcements before we kick off, though. For our guests who would like closed captioning, auto-generated captions are available on Facebook. Please turn them on in your settings. We also have ASL interpretation and live captions available on YouTube. Click the CC for closed captioning button for human-generated captions. And then we always have to give a shout out to our great friends who help us sign live. So, one of our core principles at the Black Future Co-op Fund is our commitment to being good ancestors. We model that by acknowledging we are streaming from the homelands of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Tulalip, Snohomish, Stillaguamish, and Saxuatl tribes. We honor with gratitude the land, the Coast Salish people's stewardship of the land, and their numerous contributions to the prosperity of this region. As part of our vision for securing a sustainable future for Black Washingtonians, moving forward, we're committing to doing our part to engage with and amplify the voices of Native peoples and tribes in Washington. We also recognize the vital contributions, innovations, culture, and labor with which this country was built by enslaved people who were brutally taken from the continent of Africa and brought to the US, as well as by immigrants who've come both voluntarily and involuntarily. As a Black organization, we're working to create an equitable future for all Washingtonians by centering and sustaining the legacy of our people. This is the heart of our desire to be good ancestors. So, what is Black Philanthropy Month? A little bit of history, just in case it's new for you. Black Philanthropy Month was started by Dr. Jackie Bouvier Copeland and the Pan African Women's Philanthropy Network in 2011. It's recognized around the world as an inclusive opportunity to illuminate the ingenuity and transformative impact of Black generosity and encourage increased investment in our Black communities. And we are a generous people. I will underscore that. We're proud to continue this tradition to learn and celebrate with all of you. And this is our third annual Washington Black Philanthropy Month. And again, the theme this year is Love in Action. I want to thank our organizers and contributors, including our Black Future Co-op Fund Squad, the Community Foundation of Snohomish County. Hey, Snohomish County, got to rep my set. Seattle Foundation, Seattle Seahawks, United Way of King County, and Amazon. These organizations have spent, months coming together to make sure that we're elevating Black philanthropic leadership and encouraging action that moves us towards Black generational prosperity and well-being. I thought about that as I watched that riverboat. There's reasons we responded the way we did in Alabama. There's hundreds of years of reasons, and then how do we continue to leverage that momentum and move forward as a Black community? So as Black Washingtonians, let's acknowledge, let's applaud, and let's support the power of Black leadership in philanthropy. And let's contribute towards making Black liberation real in our state to actually show love in action. So, on behalf of my fellow co architects and the staff of the Black Future Co op Fund, we want to thank you for showing up and showing out for Black philanthropy. We commit to being that one who swam across the river. So, I will pass it over to our moderator and would like to introduce who I'm going to call Ma'am, Dr. Nakaya Johnson.
Hi, Miss Angela, Dr. Angela as well. How you doing? You are so funny. It is so good to be here today and also to be with a person who has roots connected to Snohomish County. I know that is your stumping ground, so it is good to be in community with a resident, and it's also good to see those represented here in the chat and on the panel with Snohomish County residents. So excited for this invitation. So yeah, I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity. And again, anything that the Black Futures Co-op Fund leads, I'm always grateful to be a part. So in today's discussion, we will explore ways to move our love beyond words into action to increase the flow of resources to Black communities. So sorry about that, y'all. Y'all know it's technology is involved, and I just had a little bit of a technical difficulty here. Just give me a quick second to recalibrate. Just give me a second, y'all. Here we go. Sorry about that. Go ahead here. I had my little, just want to make sure I stay on pace. Again, in today's discussion, we'll explore ways to move our love beyond words and into action to increase the flow of resources to Black communities. We know traditional philanthropy has only invested 1.8% into Black-led organizations, and 90% of foundations don't have websites. This means less access, especially impactful for Black organizations who already are working with limited resources in their search for funding. More than 3 years after the wake of social justice uprising, as we know, related to the untimely deaths of Mr. George Floyd and Ms. Breonna Taylor, many corporations and foundations have made many verbal commitments to equity or increased funding, but we know love is an action. What are some ideas you all have about these organizations and how they can show up for us? So I know we've got the chat going over here. So Adana, do we have any messages? Want to see here? I know this is kind of the middle of the day. We got a couple of posts. If not, we can keep moving. All right. If we don't have any ideas, that's all right. We're getting started. We might have some people who might want to join in later. But just wanted people's feedback in terms of how do we think about that in terms of moving that needle forward, in terms of how they can show up, moving beyond that verbal commitment into doing those things in action. So if we want to think about other talking points, did you know that currently 1.2 trillion is warehoused in private foundations and donor advised funds accruing tax benefits for the holders, but doing nothing for those communities leading the work and bearing the brunt of intersecting crisis? So how do we accelerate change? Moving towards shared abundance requires intentional, significant investment in Black communities and Black-centered approaches to giving our time, talent, and funds. So our panelists today have an experience in this area, and I'd like to introduce them to you. Another reason why we're focusing on, so it was so good to have the kickoff from Dr. Angela Jones herself, representing the Black Co-op, Black Futures Co-op Fund, but it's nice to have our work center, or the work center today on Snohomish County nonprofits. If many of you don't know, Snohomish County now has been named the third largest, most diverse county in the state of Washington. So it's good to hear about how Black and diverse led nonprofits look and how that landscape looks in Snohomish County. So I'm very pleased to introduce our panelists today, beginning with Miss Olympia Edwards, who is the CEO, founder, and visionary of Project Girl Mentoring Program, one of my favorite nonprofits. They are a 501c3 organization designed to create a safe space for young women of color to become better versions of themselves. Originally from Florida, Olympia comes with a unique style of youth programming mixed with energy and authentic life lessons. For the past 11 years, Project Girl Mentoring Program has been a catalyst for the changes needed in community, using an original curriculum-based mentorship to provide young women of color with the tools they need to continue speaking the truth, show grace, love others, and come together. Give it up for Miss Olympia Edwards. That was a very modest introduction. Project Girl is definitely an amazing gem in Snohomish County based in Linwood. So give it up for Project Girl Mentoring Program. Next, we have Mr. Jesse Hayes. And hold on, y'all know I got AirPods, and y'all know they get to slipping all day long. So next we have my first introduction, one of my first introductions to Snohomish County. And I used to be a volunteer, but also still connected and looking forward to being reconnected in new ways to the Red Tail Hawks Flying Club. Mr. Jesse Hayes is the president there, introducing them now. They are an organization founded by him. They are designed to introduce underserved and underrepresented youth to the world of aviation. They engage their minds in practical applications of STEM, and they ground them in history and inspire them towards aerospace related to career paths and help them learn to fly. Jesse is a technical lead engineer for Boeing Safety Engineering. Jesse is a technical lead engineer for Boeing Safety Engineering College, an Eagle Scout, and a 1985 graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. Thank you for your service. And as an instructor navigator, he rose to the rank of major and logged over 3,300 flying hours, including 150 in combat during the Gulf War. So give it up for the Red Tail Hawks Flying Club. Another introduction that is, we could go on, but they are an amazing asset to the community, and they are also based in Snohomish County, centered right in Mokilteo. So give it up for the Red Tail Hawks Flying Club. And last but definitely not least, I would love to present Christina Georgeson, who is the executive director of Participatory Justice, one of the newer nonprofits that I met during my journey through Snohomish County. The Participatory Justice is a community organizing model. They are a nonprofit for people facing charges. They help to they help families and their communities to impact the outcome of cases and transform the landscape of power in the court system. This is a very important asset to Snohomish County and just communities across the nation. Of course, we're talking about racial justice, but social and the how we need justice to show up in the court systems is very important. So very grateful for the work that Participatory Justice does. But Christina is a parent to 5 amazingly energized birth children and a caregiver to other family members in their family. Their background is empowering individuals and families with the tools to navigate the legal, child welfare, and immigration system through participatory defense and restorative justice practices. Their experiences as a survivor of violence and being directly impacted by multiple legal systems has motivated them to utilize the power of communities to work as a collective towards collective liberation, healing, and wellness. Please give it up for Participatory Justice and their executive director, Christina Jorgensen. Please join me in welcoming our brilliant panelists today. And also, let's give some love for our ASL interpreters. My sister is a proud MSSD and Gallaudet attendee, and my brother-in-law are also deaf, so I'm always happy to see ASL interpreters of color that are here today with us. So I'm happy to see that. So, all right, let's get into it. All right, y'all. Okay, let me get down to it. Y'all, you know, me and the internet and trying to balance. I'm doing the best I can. All right, so let's just get into some introductions just naturally. We will kick it off since we began the introductions with Project Girl. Olympia, what
Yeah.
it do? Tell us
Hey.
about Project Girl. Tell us what's going on about it. I just
Yes.
spoke y'all up highly, but you take the
Yes.
show, take run with it. I'm gonna mute myself. Keep going.
Okay. So,
All
Project Girl
right.
Mentoring Program is a girls mentoring program where we work with middle school and high school girls, and we help them with their coping skills and their life skills, and we meet them where they're at. And what that may look like is where if we are communicating with them and they need someone to connect with and maybe they need counseling, we meet with them there, and to support them in all areas of their lives. Um, Part of the thing that makes it so important for me, the reason why I love to do this job is because I remember what it feels like to be a young woman of color, and living in Snohomish County. Sometimes you have that feeling like, man, there's nobody here around that may look like me. But in Project Girl, all the girls here are girls of color, so they get the chance just to be themselves and just feel amazing when they come into our programs, and just to get to be who they are. And what brought me to this journey is that I wanted a space where girls could feel seen and they could feel heard. And if you ever have a chance to come by Project Girl from the front to the door, every aspect of our program, you will see that there's mirrors and there's affirmations to say like you're beautiful and you are wonderful and everything that you are. And so I really love that part, and that's what really brought me to this journey and just being myself and just here. Well, since I know Dr. Nakaya is experiencing some technical difficulties, I'm gonna bounce it to Jesse.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. I will work on my technical difficulties. Thank you so much. Jesse, yes, please introduce yourself again and tell us all the fabulous things about Red Tail Hawks and just a little bit about yourself. And then next we will bounce to Christina, and I will pray that the technology guys will be on my side. Just give me 1 second.
All right, Nakai, take care. So this is Jesse Hayes, and I am so glad to have the opportunity to share with you. The Red Tail Hawks really is a conglomeration of engineers and pilots and technicians and educators and aviation enthusiasts who are really just excited about the opportunity to be the numerator in the national equation to um, have more underserved folks in the aerospace industry, and underrepresented, right? The statistics tell us that less than 2% of the pilots are Black, less than 6% are women, less than 4% are engineers in the United States. And so we're definitely working to create an environment where the aerospace industry looks more like the nation in which we look like. And so uh, I had the privilege really of growing up around aviation. My father actually started the Bronze Eagles Flying Club down in Texas back in 1968. And I grew up being mentored by individuals who flew as a Tuskegee Airmen in World War II and et cetera. Um, but I didn't personally get passionate about the mission of Black Pilots of America until I lived in Waco, where I discovered that I was in an environment in which Waco was 21% Black, um, and a, uh, a city that had 3 airports and over 30 aerospace industry companies, to include, SpaceX and L3. And I was working for the Boeing company, and I could count on one hand the number of Black engineers that were working in Waco. And I really didn't even need a hand to count the one Black pilot that was working professionally there. And so, although I'd been exposed to the organization for a long time, I became passionate about um, driving the mission, doing that when I got out of the Air Force. And so um, when I moved to Seattle in 2011, worked real hard to figure out, okay, what are the other Black organizations doing in the Seattle area to help the community. And I saw a niche there that was not being served. And so we created the Red Tail Hawks to um, give an opportunity for those that are underserved to have a real opportunity to get not only exposed to aviation, but actually have real careers in the aerospace industry. And so we started in November 23rd of 2013 with a couple of kids, and now we've grown tremendously. We have 3 camps. We have formal flight training. We have a year-round youth program, and we're just tremendously excited about the work that we're doing in the community, and look forward to growing much more in the future. Pass it on to Christina.
Yes, thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. And thank you for enlightening us even about, just your journey to get here in terms of your dad and the town that, environment is everything, and geography, and then those experiences, and they also influence, the decisions we go, in terms of what it influences how we, think about our communities when we get older and the things and the problems we'd like to address. So thank you. And then shout out to our new ASL interpreters. So thank you for stepping in. And so, Christina, I will let you take the stage.
Thank you, Dr. Nakaya. And thank you to the folks that are putting this on and for everybody that's showing up. And lots of gratitude for being invited into this space. I'll share a little bit about participatory justice. We have 3 focuses of works. We do participatory defense, which is showing up for families and helping them support their loved ones that are navigating these different systems, whether child welfare, immigration, or the criminal legal system. And we utilize media justice in order to tell people's stories and bring context into the courtrooms. Many times when judges or prosecutors are looking at cases, they see just an incident or a moment in time, and they don't get the full context of people's environments, the social structures that are around them, issues that they might be dealing with that lead them into the system. And so we try to paint that picture and, again, shift the power. We also work with restorative justice. And so right now we are trying to imagine what it would be like to build networks of care in Snohomish County that are outside of the carceral system and really focus on healing and support through accountability rather than punitive punishment. And we also do systems change work. So we do legislative work around different things that impact the population of people that we are working with. And then how I got brought to this work, my own experiences in the child welfare system is how I got into these movement spaces. When I was interning during my time in college, I was supposed to organize a training around social biography videos. So I brought some from California, and I saw what they were doing. And I was really inspired because when I was navigating one of my loved ones that was navigating prison, I didn't have any tools. And so I felt like a really small person up against a really large, powerful system. And this was a tool that I know that I could utilize to help other families. And so that's how I got into this work. And yeah. I'll pass it back to you, Dr. Nakaya.
Thank you, Christina, for that. And thank you, panelists, for just giving us context. Context is always important. So appreciate that. And just want to shout out the chat again. This is, again, Washington taking stage and just showing the world how we do Black Philanthropy Month. So just want to give a shout out to Vancouver, Washington is in the house. And I'm in Seattle, and just want to shout out Shoreline, Snohomish County, of course, is in the house. And just also want to shout out, I think, like I said, we got some people have said Shoreline. So just want to say thank you all just for being here. Community is important, and it's just good to have y'all here. So we will keep rolling. I've got my little camera worked out, so let's keep rolling. So yeah, so just we'll move on. So just thinking about our backgrounds, talking about where we come from. I'll just briefly share about how I kind of came into this space, just my role in terms of background. I came from the urban planning, grant management space, community engagement, working with historically Black colleges and universities, also in the Deep South. Did a lot of work with media and did some things with environmental justice and social justice, and so showing up in the philanthropic space, and did some things here in the Pacific Northwest. And so if you'd like to learn a little, I want to keep this focused on the panelists and the work that they're doing. So if you'd like to learn more about my background, feel free to go to LinkedIn. I'm the only Dr. Nakaya on LinkedIn. So you can just type in Dr. and then N like nectar, EKYA, or you can see it spelled here on the screen to learn more about me and my work. You can send a friend request and we can go from there. And then you can learn more about my work. So, but let's just keep it on the panelists and the amazing work that they're doing and all the communities that they're supporting in Snohomish County. All right, so moving right along, philanthropy is about relationships. Yet they're often, unfortunately, sometimes philanthropy itself can be transactional, meaning that yet often the transactional nature of how traditional philanthropy functions pushes us towards producing quantity with little concern about the process and our humanity within it. That of the leaders doing the work in the communities we serve. So just thinking about that, what would philanthropy look like if it were driven by love of all humanity, including Black people? So, and just to unpack that and go a little deeper, you know, and y'all know my favorite word is, you know, just keep it at 100. You know, this work requires all of us to be vulnerable. It requires the philanthropist to be vulnerable with their resources. And then this is also the other part of keeping it 100 is it takes much more than money to change and transform communities and to address problems. So if we're thinking about ways to answer that question, or another way to massage that, you know, what would it look like if we were really trying to address problems and bring resolve through philanthropy to touch, you know, and to address issues from the Black community, especially when we think about, you know, Project Girl and what they're faced with, and all the disproportionate statistics that impact Black women. We can go on and on about all the things that impact Black women, especially young Black women. Or if we think about the penal system and the things that Christina faces, and the disproportionality that it comes with STEM, and the things that Jesse faced, and anyone, we don't arm wrestle. This is all about love. So anybody or everyone can respond to this question, and I can also put it in the chat. But if anybody could respond, or if all of you could kind of give us some feedback on, you know, what philanthropy would look like if it was driven by the love of all humanity, including Black folks, or Black people, I should say.
I'll go. I think philanthropy would look like a community festival. Right now in Seattle, it's beautiful outside, and so we're definitely in our festival season. So when I say the community festival, it's like everyone is invited and everyone is included, and there's multiple ways for people to get access to it. Um, I love going to festivals, and one of my part of going to festivals is going to each different vendors and really having a conversation with them and seeing things from their perspective, where it may be jewelry or it may be a soap or something like that. And I think that's what it means to the humanity part of philanthropy. Is like everyone has a different perspective of what philanthropy look like. But when Black people have can come from it, it comes from a different side of it. We see it so much in our communities, and we see it in how we may dress, or like who we are and how we show up so much, and it allows us to show up in philanthropy the same exact way. Um, and that's the time, and it's everything else that we do. I think how we really come at it in so much of the way is that philanthropy is really just showing up for your community and really allowing people to come as they are.
I'll let someone else speak, but that's so important because we'll get to that. But yeah, authenticity is very important. Allowing people to define, you know, you know how resources look, but also solutions to how problems should be fixed. When it comes to philanthropy, whether it be for the organization and how they respond to what the leaders need. So that's a very good point. Christina, Jesse.
Yeah, it's amazing because you use the word love, right? And and in my view, God is love, right? And so we're talking about trusting God's economy, right? And understanding that when you give, it is given back to you. If we're have an environment that's truly in love, then we have an environment in which folks, believe in sowing and reaping, right? You're planting seeds in the community and allowing a harvest to be taken by all, which is pretty amazing. Um, and there's a lot of trust involved in that, but at the end of the day, you have to know that when you are doing better, right? When we all do better, everybody does better. When you have an opportunity to help someone else, right, and give them a hand up, you are investing in the community. You're investing in the world in which we live. Um, it's kind of funny to me, those that talk about, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and those kinds of things. And I believe most of us with any intellectual capability understand that that's a falsity of politics. The truth is that nobody does anything by themselves. Nobody's ever successful by themselves. And we all need each other. And when I was a little kid, I wrote, I don't know, little kid, it seems like a little kid, but when I was in high school, I wrote a short poem, and it goes like this. People need people and friends need friends, for a full life depends. Right. And that is something that I believe to my core. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Christina, and shout out to the interpreter switch. That's not easy, so thank you for keeping us inclusive and informed. Go ahead, Christina.
Yes, thank you. I would say trust, care, and flexibility. I think that the same way that philanthropy operates in its own families and communities with care and love and resources and support and access, it would mirror the same ways in community. So I think like we're often searching for the perfect model, but I think that we already have it. I don't think love is complicated. So what would philanthropy look like if it was driven by love of all humanity, including Black people? It would look like radical love. It would look like trust that communities have the answers and they know what they need. Flexibility, experimentation. So it's not always, we don't always do the thing and then it's a success. Sometimes we fail and we have to go back to the drawing board. So flexibility for that, being intentional in relationship. So it's not transactional. We need to be in relationship. Like Jesse said, like I heard everybody say, we all need each other. So love is vibrational. So that's what I would say.
I like that vibration. Yeah.
I like this. I like this. So much good feedback. This is really good. I just wanted to know, do we have any questions from the audience? This has been very good feedback from the panelists. I just want to thank y'all for being open, and while you're giving some really good gems from your own organizations, it also feels like you're giving some real good, information from your hearts. So just want to make sure we're making space for the audience as they're processing it. It looks like we don't have any questions, so we just gonna keep rolling, rolling, rolling. All right, sounds good. All right. So the next question, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, I don't know, just add real quick in terms of application. Because the Red Hawks have been tremendously blessed by being supported by individuals and multiple organizations, including the United States government. Um, and it's always interesting how folks and organizations support us. There's some foundations, to include um, Community Foundation in Snohomish County, who actually present trust in the way that they support us and give freely. And then there's other organizations that make us jump through so many hoops. It almost feels like it's not worth the money, because there's no trust, there. And so we feel that the entire spectrum, and the support that we've been given.
And thank you, Jesse, for sharing that. And I think that kind of sets us up for the next part. And I want y'all to share freely. This is a platform that, I want y'all to share authentically. So if you would like to acknowledge, because even though we're focused on Snohomish County today, we understand that you might be supported by grantors, funders, or donors across the state. So if you would like to acknowledge any of those in your state, in your responses, please celebrate that. Now I can't pass the collection plate in this conversation, but if y'all would like to acknowledge those who have been passing the collection plates on y'all behalf, I am not a hater. So please, be open and celebrate it. Dr. Angela done already set it up and said who she would like to acknowledge, who Aquaman, who swam across the English Channel over the weekend. You listen, everybody acknowledging who they felt love for and who is doing the work of the people. So whoever is, who you hold in your hearts, who is advocating for your community, that is who you can definitely do that. I will say, there is a question apparently that I did miss. So is there something someone from YouTube would like to know? Is there something you all feel, or all the panelists may feel, that traditional philanthropy is missing? That's a very good question. So would anybody or everyone like to comment? Is there something traditional philanthropy is missing?
I think traditional philanthropy is missing, or one of the problems is that it makes everything a competition. You have to do better than technically you beating someone else out to get a grant or a fund or something like that. And so then it puts us against each other, no matter what we're doing. And so the traditional way that some people do philanthropy is that it's either you can get it or I'm going to get it, or then somebody else doesn't get it. And what that sets us up as a community is like someone's going to go lacking. Someone's going to feel the brunt. Our program or somebody's not going to get some type of support. And so that it just puts you in the wrong mindset of doing the work. And it's like, that it's a chance that you might not get it, which I totally understand. But it's also a chance to know that what you're doing is not worthy of other one eyes. And so it just put us in competition with each other when technically we should be collaborating and we should be sharing resources and everyone should be supported at certain times.
I think that I think the biggest thing that kind of, okay, I'll just say it, annoys me from time to time is that there's so much focus on numbers. Some of our funders would rather you pat 50 kids on the back, right, and kick them out the door, than grab 10 of them and actually help them succeed. You know, and so, I think there should be more energy into the quality and the outcomes as opposed to the numbers generated, so that somebody can feel good that they helped 1,000 kids this year.
Yeah, I would say I think traditional philanthropy lacks imagination and creativity. It sometimes wants to operate in a box of what it knows. And I think it could maybe, expand its imagination and creativity more, to do things that are less traditional. And I also wanted to, off what Jesse said, we all hear that, right? Like they want numbers, they want the success story. And I was interviewing for a fellowship once, and somebody asked me, like, we think that participatory defense and working on individual cases gets us to ending mass incarceration. And somebody asked, how does investing in one person do that? And I would say that, investing your time into one person or one family, it has a ripple effect, right? And as we get more people out, they are also important people in our community that have a lot to offer. And so just that ripple effect, and the more that we can invest in families on a smaller scale rather than doing a little bit for so many, I think is going to have a bigger impact. And so being able to say, yeah, I'm going to help 10 people this year instead of 100, but I'm investing a lot of my time and resources into that. And it will long-term have an impact.
Thank you all. I think that's a very good question. I mean, those are very good responses, very truthful responses. I'll be respectful of time. Y'all know I always got something in my heart I would like to share, but this is also about action and staying on time. So I'm gonna keep it moving to the next one. I ain't gonna hold you long. That's to say. So I'm gonna keep it moving. The next one is Black-led philanthropy holds insightful gems for the sector as a whole. We know that all of us, including those of us who work in philanthropy, have work to do in developing self-love in the face of centuries of racist narratives baked into our society. When Black-led philanthropy is finally driven by self-love, what will it look like? What will be different? I want to hear from panelists and audience members. Please chime in. So I'm gonna just say it one more time. I'm not gonna repeat the whole thing, but when Black-led philanthropy is finally driven by self-love, what will it look like? What will be different? So we talked about the outer things and organizations and the systems and all those barriers that are heavier than all of us, that feels like that is heavier than all of us. And we can just probably be candid and say it is heavier than all of us, but we talk about the strength in numbers, partnership, community, and unity. But what about that internal thing, and when those external community members can't fix those things, and we have to have those internal conversations about self-love? Anybody? Everybody? And then this is something we want to hear from the audience too, because self-love is conversations that have to come from everybody. So I'll let y'all pause, digest, reflect, and respond.
When I think of self-love and Black philanthropy, I think of slowing down, really, and really taking the time to notice the things that maybe we don't get a chance to notice. And so at Project Girl, for instance, we have an all women staff. And so as a CEO, I get a chance to slow down as being a Black-led CEO, to actually take care and nurture my staff and talk to them. Sometimes, kind of like what Jesse said, where it's like we have all these metrics and we have all this stuff that we have to do, but then we forget that there's a chance that we can self-love our groups, like show them how to is, and then actually embody it. So sometimes for me personally, that might mean that I might just take off early and go ride my bike and just really kind of slow down for my own thoughts and kind of like just nurture my own who I am. Someone in the chat kind of also posted that sometimes we do so much as people who are navigating stuff, we don't get a chance to slow down really. And so any moments where you are outside and you get to do something fun that you kind of enjoy, you're putting it back to yourself. You're filling your own cup up. You're sustaining yourself so that you can go out and love people. You can go out and do the work.
You know, I agree with Olympia. In fact, the Red Jawhawks spent the better part of this year, with the leadership retreat and follow-up actions and those kinds of things, and trying to make sure that we were taking care of each other and doing the things that we need to do to serve the community as we grow, and the need for the work that we do grows. But at the same time, I also see us being in a position to not be afraid of our own success. We we have to take chances, right? Not everything works out the first time, and not everything is going to run as smoothly as we would like to, but we have to be creative in the work that we're doing and innovative in the work that we're doing, especially in STEM as technology changes and et cetera. We've got to keep up with that, right? And make sure that the foundational things that we are teaching are still applicable. And it's interesting because we really find ourselves very often being in a position to help others in the work that we're doing. What do I mean? I mean we've had some early media coverage and success, and folks recognizing what we're doing. And when folks see a news report or whatever, almost to a fault, people call and they don't reach out to us to say, "Hey, how can we help you?" They're actually calling and asking, "How can we help them?" Right? How did you get that money? How did you do your program? How did you whatever? Right? And so we find ourselves in a position to find some success, and then hopefully multiply that effort in other parts of the state or the country or whatever the case may be. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I would say, to build off what Olympia said, letting go of this sense of urgency that we've been socialized to believe exists. Also, again, the way that we're always looking for a success story, but really, I think humans are complex. And like I mentioned about experimentation, we need to be able to fumble and reflect and try again, and letting go of those invisible boundaries and deadlines that we put on ourselves. It's about being together and not in competition, turning towards each other that way, pouring into each other and building each other up. I think that we, again, like I said, we have all the answers that we need, but we don't often get the space and the time to realize that, or to feel that, or to embody that, practice that, or to be in a relationship even, we're overworked, and to be in an intentional relationship, it often feels like we don't have the time to do that. And so being able to create the time in our workspaces to be able to do that pouring into ourselves and into each other is really important. And I would say, like, also creating the spaces and having access to spaces where, as my friend Teddy would say or teach us, spaces that support and honor people's dignity, agency, safety, and belonging, which makes us whole. And I would say, And some of the ways that I practice that or lead is with love and care first. And so that means that if I'm showing up to a meeting and, you know, I call everybody my friend, my colleague. So if my friend shows up and is like, you know, I'm really going through something and we have a whole agenda plan, well, we're going to scrap that agenda and we're going to love on this person and make sure that they have the support that they need and the care that they need, because we know that when we take care of ourselves and each other, we're going to show up better to take care of our community. And so the work is important, but caring for yourself is also super important. So that's what I'll leave that question with.
I think those are fantastic responses. And I just want to say before we head to the audience questions, I think that this is an important conversation to have, because I think as people of color, we're never given permission to talk about, you know, how we're allowed to love ourselves and just the platform and spaces to love ourselves. So, especially when it talks about resources and, you know, the imbalance of, you know, the privileged and the resources and, you know, just like Jesse gave us some context of pull yourself up, you know, the old narrative, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You should be very happy. So you should be well ready to, you know, and so then this balance part of saying like, you know, but there should be time for you to pour into yourself and allow others to pour into you to you know, be able to fill yourself up to do the work. So I'm glad all of you have given such rich conversation. So I'm glad that, you know, you all have given us a very wide spectrum of how self-love can look and how it shows up in philanthropy and whether it shows up in community and those who come to you for advice and those who, you know, come with ill intentions, but those who come with the best intentions to grow that conversation. So thank you. So I will, I guess, kind of turn, is it to, I want to make sure I got this right, to the audience. With a similar question related to that. Yes, I think, yeah, that kind of pivoted from that based on some of your feedback. So the next question rolls into, are there any philanthropists or philanthropic models that are getting it right in terms of these conversations, that has a good balance of what that we are ideally kind of thinking of? And that comes from the person, yeah, and in the chat, that again, that's asking, are there any philanthropists or philanthropic models that we can think of that are getting it right? And if you don't have a response, that's fine too. But if anybody has any comments on that.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. I mean, I've already thrown a shout out to Community Foundation of Snohomish County, but the Murdoch Charitable Trust, MJ Murdoch Charitable Trust, I think has very good model, and I mean, nothing's perfect, right? But what I love about the way that they serve the community is that they take the opportunity to get to know the organization. You know, they meet you first face to face. They understand. They try to understand your needs. They when they provide support or whatever, in whatever form that it is in, they do ask for feedback, but it's not in a burdensome or in a way that really interferes with getting, doing the work, right? So it's a very easy reporting process, and once you're involved in what they're doing, they are there for you to support in other ways. I think we met a couple of the panelists, I believe, mentioned that it's more than just money, right? And so they're there to support in terms of education, access, etc. So yeah, I think some folks are really trying hard to do it better, for sure.
I'll add on to that. Jesse mentioned a lot of good ones. One that I think is a philanthropist I think Oprah, I would say that. And the reason why is because for me, she opened a girls' school when she saw the need. And so for me to see that, even that she may not have had any girls, but she remember what it felt like. And so to me, when you're able to remember what it felt like to be in different shoes and then go out there and seek the need, I always try to look at like what she's doing in the community and the ways that her school is growing. And even just encourage myself one day, maybe Project Girl will roll into a school, just to kind of know like that option is out there. And another one that is based in the South, but it's called Grant Makers of Girls of Color. This is a big organization, but they really look at they created their own philanthropy model of really going after nonprofits that no one knew to really as a national model how to work with girls, and particularly they have girls of color, and now they've peered off and did other organizations. And Black Future Fund, shout them out. They're doing an amazing job at really just connecting all of us and making sure that there is no competition when it comes to how do you get access to the funds that they have.
Yeah, I will just mention a few places. Yeah, Community Foundation, Snohomish County, the NITI, or formerly Group Health Foundation, Puget Sound Energy Foundation. And I would say what's been supportive for me about them is, them reducing barriers for communities to access money. And I say like younger organizations or organizations that are not as big or mainstream, and giving us more resources, like if we need support with writing the grant. I got a grant from NITI and they paid for a grant writer, so that really helped and it took a lot of the stress off me. Or Dr. Nakaya has been a super great resource for me, during their time at Community Foundation of Snohomish County. And so offering up those resources or ways to help us access funds has been a great support. So I'll pass it back to you, Nakaya.
All righty. And thank you all for sharing that. And just, again, this is about authenticity. And that's why I said I want everybody to tell, from your own perspectives of, just in terms of being leaders. And thank you for the audience just for asking that. And before we go on to the next question, and just because we're related to that, I think I would be remiss, even though the question was about models, but just want to, again, even though Dr. Angela had already shouted out, but just want to shout out again the contributors, those who made space for us to have this space. Again, Black Future Co-op Fund, got to shout out, those in charge, but the Community Foundation of Snohomish County, the Seattle Foundation, the Seattle Seahawks Foundation, United Way of King County, and Amazon. So just want to shout out again those who made this possible for us to have this space and conversation. So we will move on. I think we had one more question from the audience before we move on to the next part of the panel. The next question from the audience comes or asks, what are the relationships between you, donors, funders, and the community that demonstrate their love and action? And I can put that in the chat. Again, that question is, what are the best relationships between you, the donors, funders, and community that demonstrate their love and action? And again, this can be all panelists that answer this question, or it can be or just one panelist. And again, thanks again to our ASL interpreters for working so hard.
One of the best relationships I've had with donors and funders is someone who just comes right into our space and just be themselves and see themselves. Then that shows that they're love and action when they just immerse themselves in what we're doing. Recently, I was actually connected with someone in my office, and to be honest with you, I had 50 Cent playing on the radio, and I didn't have to code switch or cut it off. And that was their love of action, because then we just got comfortable with each other and we were just sharing the real information. And just that right there for me was like, I don't have to be something that I have to fit into your model of what you want Project Girl or what you want Olympia to be. I just have to be my authentic self. And that is how you show love, is just being yourself and being who you need to be at that space, at that time. um and out of that relationship, that's how we've always kind of like just continue on to grow. And that's what I think is really best, when you can just be yourself and not have to code switch or be a different mirror in front of someone.
I'm going to pass at this point.
That felt like a mic drop after Olympia spoke. But Christina, did you have anything you wanted to share?
No. Olympia said it very well.
Very well. It felt like a mic drop. I'm being nice, kind, and sweet just by asking everybody else. Okay, all right, everybody agree. All right, we just don't move on. Okay, that was great. All right, this has been such a rich conversation for the mind and soul for me. So thank y'all just for letting me be a part of this. And again, before we wrap up, um, yes, before we wrap up, we want to know from audience members, are there some ways philanthropy can do a better job of showing love in action? So please speak up in the chat. I think our moderators will drop that question again in the chat. But again, before we wrap up, we want to know from audience members, what are some ways philanthropy can do a better job of showing love in action? Um, just so we have that. Did I skip a question? Don't. So like the 2-year-old, did I do good, Mom? Yeah, are there any other ways philanthropy can do a better job of showing love in action? Oh, I'm really just now getting to see the chat. Oh, look, I see all my friends in there. Hi, Leanne. Oh, showing hi, everybody in there. Anybody else? All right. And then it might take people a little bit of time. Okay. All right. Well, again, we are going to try and it looks like we're going to guess kind of wrap up a bit early. It looks like. Okay. Here I'm gonna try and follow the rules of balancing screen. Okay. All right. So I think I'm going to move to this part, but I guess I will ask the panel, I guess, these final questions, and then if maybe something will come up from the audience, we'll go back to that. So creating change within an inherently broken system can be challenging. We need models past and present who can show us new ways of being and moving. As you continue this work, who are your examples in this work? And in closing, what do you want people to take away from this conversation? What's an action that allies can take to shift power, to make it easier to access funding, to increase the flow of resources in the Black community? And this is my other favorite point of the time. As we conclude, we want to remind you to give of your time, energy, and dollars to Black-led organization. So I believe we'll be sharing a QR code to invest in what Black Future Co-op Fund is doing, or invest directly into Black-led organization. And then we will make sure that we share all of the awardees as well. Okay, I will also make sure I share. I guess I'm so sorry. Let me get my bearing straight. So I will make sure we share information for the panelists today, their contact information if you're interested in donating to their nonprofits, as well as Black Future Co-op Fund if you're interested in donating. But then we'll also have an opportunity for the panelists just to kind of wrap up today and share some final thoughts and reflections. It looks like I might have jumped around too soon. Oh, yes, y'all. I'm so sorry. It looks like I did. I skipped a question. My bad, y'all. Let me go backwards. I jumped over a question. So my apologies before we wrap up. So there is one more question. So let me back up, please. So before we wrap up, I'm sorry, I put the gas on too fast. We all know that Black people have been um, uh, philanthropic. We invest our time, we invest our talent and treasure to take care of our community. We give more of our discretionary income than any other racial group. We show our love in action, building on principles of equity and how we can move um, and how our movement can expand in equitable investment. Okay, I think I might be reading that question wrong. I guess our question is to ask, how else can we show um, our love in action? I guess that's what we're asking, and other ways to have equitable, and how other ways we can see equitable investment in the Black community in terms of Black humanity. I think that's what the question is. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of confusion on my end because I don't know if I'm reading this properly. Building on principles of equity, how can our movement expand equitable investment and see the love of Black humanity acted upon? I'm going to put this question in the chat just so we're all on the same page. My apologies. Or Adana, is there a way you can put that in the chat, please? I just copy and pasted it, but it says we know Black people have always been philanthropic, but we invest our time, talent, and treasure to take care of our community. We give more of our discretionary income than any other racial group. We show our love in action, building on principles of equity and how our movement can expand equitable investment and see the love of Black humanity acted upon. I'm also a little bit distracted as well, y'all. I just broke my nail, so I think that's another part that got me distracted. But sorry, y'all. So I think I got a little distracted. But the question is, how can we also show, in terms of how we show up, of principles of equity and investment? So anyone can respond, or everyone can respond. And I don't know if Adana, we want to put that question in the chat. Okay, someone has. Okay, great. So everyone can see it. Thank y'all for the grace. Thank y'all so much. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
I'll go again. I say invest back into what we do, invest into our nonprofits, invest into the things that we are rolling with. Our work takes a lot of hands. Like right now, we have 2 programs running. We have 50 girls, and it takes a lot of time and effort for them to show up for them. And so it's inviting us to come out to different events. It's putting dollars our into our investing, and so that they can do some of the things that they want to do. If they are able to go bike riding, we can do that. Or if it's going to a spa, and then also show up, really just show up and say like, hey, I'm a creative writer. I can teach girls how to do different things, or if I can do so many other stuff. And so that's what I think would be very equitable in investing back into what we do.
Y'all not just gonna let Olympia just keep mic dropping. Do
So,
somebody else got something to say? Okay, thank you, Jeff.
oh, for sure. My thoughts keep coming back to um, being able to tell the story, whatever our story is, the Red Toe Hawks or any other organization, in a way that folks understand the need, being able to communicate the inequity that actually exists, and to be able to speak to people of privilege about their inherent and sometimes blind spotted biases in a loving way. I think most people, if they really were able to step out of their own lives and really appreciate the needs of others, they would readily find some way to help. Part of the problem, part of the inequity creation is that as human beings, we tend to become survival minded, and really focus on what it is that we need to do for ourselves, right? What we need to do for our immediate family, etc. And not necessarily slow down enough to consider what's happening around us and how our actions affect the world around us, or how what's happening to me is really created by a social construct that I need to play a role in, either changing or manipulating in a different way so that more people can benefit from the society that we have created. You know, we have the opportunity every day to help somebody. And most of the time, and myself included, I mean, we can take a simple example of driving through Seattle trying to get to work and seeing somebody on the corner, with their hand out, because they're, without shelter or whatever the situation is, and not giving it a second thought because I'm trying to get to where I'm going, and somewhere in my mind, I justify that, I'm tithing at church or whatever it is that I'm doing, and being desensitized to the greater inequities of our society. And so, if we are given the opportunity, which we are on a regular basis, if we slow down enough, as Olympia said earlier, to really pay attention, we can, in fact, help each other in ways that does multiply, right? You pay it forward, somebody else gets a chance to pay it forward, and eventually we all help each other just a little bit. But until we reach individuals and help them understand that, yes, their survival instincts are natural and understandable and etc. But the fear of finite resources is really a unreasonable fear. It's manufactured, especially when it comes to our economy. I mean, the truth of the matter is that we can grow the economy, right? Um, the United States has more because we have more people, quite frankly, it's just the bottom line. And if we were able to tap into the full potential of the 330 million people that we have in the United States, our economy would be even better and stronger. The problem is that we don't tap into the entire potential of the economy. We systematically exclude some people. We systematically create situations where some folks have the opportunity to hang on to resources that they really aren't using, will probably never use in their lifetime, and 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 by default, absolutely denying other people some opportunity that could be available to them if there was more equity in the way that folks behave in the systems that we create and the way that we conduct business. So, um, uh, at, so at the end of the day, really, um, I argue, so to speak, that we have to take that first step, right, to really tap into the, the the segments of our society that are controlling a large part of the economy, and and help them understand, and in a loving way. This is we're talking love here in this conversation, right? And so it's not that you're the 1% and you're evil or whatever, right? It's more of a what is the world that we really want to leave behind, right? What is the world that we want our grandchildren and our great grandchildren to inherit? And once we have that conversation, then the follow-on conversation can be about, okay, what do we do about it? But I think we need to put more energy into just getting people to understand that we are all connected. And right now, even in the richest country of the world, there is inequity, and and globally, the inequity is just unimaginable. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you all so much. And thank you, Jesse, for those final words. Just want to say thank you all for joining. I hope you all feel energized today. I hope you all just, just took time to reflect in a conversation that's going to help our community grow. But thinking that, and honoring Black Philanthropy Month, although it was a month, this is a 365-day conversation. And so I hope you take these gems back to your prospective community or respected communities around the globe, and thinking about how to move the needle forward all around. We would love your feedback. So please take a moment to fill out the brief surveys that have been designed to think about future experiences and events, and just so how we can think about tailoring to your interests. For the audience, whether you be on YouTube or just joining us here with the link, think about the link that was just dropped in the chat. So we also hope that you'll stay engaged and sign up for future events, and just to stay connected to the Black Future Co-op newsletter, and also join them at blackfuturewa.org and connect with them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, on all the socials. Y'all know how to get connected. Also, make sure you check out the Red Tail Flying Hawks or Flying Red Tail Hawks Flying Club on their website, which is Red Tail Hawks Flying Club .org. That's where you can also find out information on how to donate. Just like I talked about, we got to pass that collection plate around, get some checkbooks out. This is because it's also, it's about love, action, but it's also about write that check, get that money out. Also to learn about more about Project Girl and other ways to give to these 501c3s. Their information is www.project project-girl.org, and their information will also be put in the chat. And then for to connect and learn more about participatory justice, I have given out, if it's okay, I will, Christina, I included your, yes, you can find them on their socials on Facebook and IG at Participatory Justice. That's their handle. Or you can also contact Christina, which is Kristina at participatoryjustice.org to learn more about how you can donate, volunteer, and just stay in the loop about what they're doing. Lastly, for more wisdom from Black folks, tune into Global Black Philanthropy Month's Giving Black 2023 virtual conference tomorrow. It's going to be at 9:30 in the morning Eastern Time, 6:30 for everybody on the West Coast. So hope y'all got that generous schedule to get up in the morning. And then also thinking about Giving Black 2023, we'll explore and celebrate the ways that Black people across the world create belonging and advance social change despite the forces of exclusion. Learn more about this and more virtual events at blackphilanthropymonth.com/news-events. And then for audience members, please check out the Giving Black virtual conference that's going to be kicking off tomorrow, or there'll be some events tomorrow. I think there's been some ongoing things, but that's at blackphilanthropymonth.com/news/events. Thanks again for joining. Bye for now. I hope this was good for you as it was for us. And again, shout out again for our ASL interpreters. Thank you again. And remember, this is about love and action. And thank you for coming together to celebrate community and unity and love. Peace.